take this presentation. Okay, so we'll start with the announcements. We'll talk with Deborah Van Hevel of Comerica, who is our sponsor, and then we will turn it over to Lisa Fisher, who is our presenter today. And we will also, so we'll invite people to ask questions in the chat throughout Lisa's presentation. And then we'll take about 10 to 15 minutes after the presentation to answer those questions. And then afterward, we will do our happy hour. And if we only have a few people or, you know, a limited amount of people, then we can go around the room and kind of introduce ourselves and our businesses and possibly ask a question that I will post. If we have a lot of people in the room, it'll be a little bit more challenging, but you know, we're women, we can get through it. So first of all, WISE had a great year planned of meetings that were going to capture so many people's attention and so many attendees, and we were so disappointed that we had to cancel them. And we are in a position right now where we don't know what we're doing quite yet with the August event. August is scheduled at Barnum, where we usually host it. And of course, nobody knows where we're at this point. So just watch your emails to see how we're going to be able to handle that. And, you know, we may try and do a webinar if we're not able to do that. And we're truly hoping that in November for our Giving Back event, for the Small Sharks in a Big Lake contest pitch, we'll be able to hold that as planned forget the Rockford Construction, that's where. So I also wanted to take a minute to thank our advocates. WISE, I and Florisa Ganatis are the co-founders of WISE, and we wouldn't be able to do it for the over 10 years that we have done this without our advocates. And our advocates step in and help us to plan the meetings. They also help to schedule catering, find venues, and we all come together to determine different ideas for topics for the year. So it's a really nice opportunity to work closely with women-owned businesses and women in business. So if you're interested in becoming an advocate, let us know. That there's a lot of return by being an advocate, and one of those is you get to attend all the events for free all year, and then you get to come to the planning meeting, which we usually have plenty of inspiring liquids to get us moving and thinking of new ideas. So I also wanted to say, if there's any WBEs on the call, I will be presenting for the West Michigan Forum tomorrow with WeBank and Great Lakes. So if you've registered already, just a reminder, that is tomorrow at 3:30. So hope to see y'all there then as well. Okay, so at this time, I'd really like to, welcome Debbie Van Hevel with Comerica. WISE is very fortunate to have had Comerica be a sponsor of our events. They're our annual sponsor, and they really stepped up during this pandemic to support small businesses. The PPE started out as a challenge for so many businesses, and questions of whether small businesses were going to be represented, and Comerica has really done so. And Debbie's going to share some stats, and I will also post it in the chat as well. So, Deb, you are unmuted.
All right, thank you, Connie. Well, I should say good evening. It's almost evening to all the fabulous WISE women on this call. Comerica Bank is proud to sponsor WISE year after year. I think it's a fabulous organization, and I am a proud advocate as well. For Comerica, For more than 170 years, we have supported our customers through hardships of world wars, Great Depressions, Great Recessions, and many other monumental challenges, and we continue to do so. This time has been difficult for all of our customers and our colleagues. However, we remain dedicated to assisting them through all their financial needs in every way we can. On the payment or the Paycheck Protection Program, we are proud to continue serving our customers by processing these critical loans, helping small businesses cover daily expenses and keep workers on their payroll. PPP is an excellent program that Congress passed and the SBA did a great job with. But it came online very fast and it was a huge operational challenge for us, as well as many other banks. But I am extremely proud of our team and the efforts they put into getting this up and running. Many of our bankers work 7 days a week through many, many nights and weekends. I am proud to say with all the efforts, the collective efforts, we were able to deliver. Comerica Bank processed approximately 13,000 Paycheck Protection Program loan applicants for our customers, funding $4.1 billion. And this is the part that I think is really cool. Among the 5 markets we serve, the Michigan market accounted for 36% of the funding and 44% of the loans. So Michigan funding was approximately $1.5 billion. And the loans were nearly 6,000. 100% complete and eligible applications submitted to the US SBA have been approved. Comerica will continue to accept and submit applications from existing customers as of February 15, 2020 in all of our markets until the PP funds are exhausted. I wanted to share a little bit some interesting facts, at least I found them very interesting, which is really the loan and the company profiles of where these loans were made. So 81% of the loans that we made were to companies with fewer than 50 employees. 56% were made to companies with fewer than 10 employees. 60% of the loans were less than 100,000. And 56 of the loans went to companies with fewer than 10 employees. So the employee impact of all of these loans for these businesses impacts approximately 250,000 employees. So that's huge. So it's helping those small businesses. We continue to have more than 1,000 Comerica colleagues supporting the PPP project with the mission of serving our customers as they focus on keeping their workforce intact. Our focus is on customer centricity, but it doesn't stop there. We are committed to supporting the communities and local businesses through the nonprofit agencies that are providing critical products and services during these challenging times. Comerica and the Comerica Charitable Foundation have now committed to $8 million to the COVID-19 relief efforts. On March 24th, we announced a $4 million investment to support relief efforts to small businesses and community programming. On May 7th, we added an additional $4 million investment to serve community development financial institutions, CDFIs, and other nonprofits that support micro-sized businesses, as well as community programs supporting those impacted by COVID-19. Regarding the Enhanced Income Payment Program, the stimulus payment, Comerica waived its customer overdraft balances to ensure they received the full amount of the direct deposit check from the IRS and the U.S. Department of Treasury. So what it means, if a customer had a negative balance prior to their stimulus payment being directly deposited, Comerica forgave the overdraft amount. So they actually received a full amount of the check from the government. And Comerica is not going to attempt to collect the forgiven overdraft amount at any time in the future. So Comerica continues to serve its customers by discussing various loan payment deferrals, fee waiver options, and those that have been COVID-19. Similar with our retail customers experiencing financial difficulties, customers can contact us to discuss fee, penalty waivers, loan deferrals, and other considerations that meet circumstances. I want to wrap up by sharing the latest announcement on community and small business investment. This was just announced yesterday. Comerica Bank teamed up with the Mission Development Corporation and Michigan Women Forward to support the creation of a 1.5 million Michigan Entrepreneur Resilience Fund, formed to assist entrepreneurs and small businesses negatively impacted by COVID-19 recover from the outbreak, as well as help them meet increased demands in support of COVID response efforts. So I can't say it much better than our Michigan Market President, Mike Ritchie. The stability and growth of small businesses and entrepreneurs significantly contribute to the economic vitality of our communities, as they provide important employment opportunities and deliver valuable goods and services. Supporting these businesses as they fight to survive will have a long-term impact on their success in our city and state. The Michigan Economic Development Corporation and Michigan Women Forward have proven critical in providing exceptional support to businesses, and we believe partnering in Michigan's Entrepreneur Resilience Fund will help deliver vital resources to businesses for survival and recovery. So the 1.5 million Michigan Entrepreneur Resilience Fund helps small businesses from geographically disadvantaged areas survive the outbreak through recovery efforts. I gotta tell you, out of my 33 years in banking, I have never had to navigate the challenges we are facing today. I am so proud of my team, the bankers, of their dedication, their agility they have to continue being on the front line, continue to focus on meeting the needs of our customers. So with that, I just want to say, I hope you all on this call stay safe and healthy. And I so look forward to our next WISE event, which hopefully we could have a glass of wine and share it together in person. So with that, thank you, and back to Connie.
Thank you, Debbie. Yes, cheers to Comerica. It's just fabulous to hear. And, you know, we've all heard about it in the news as small businesses. We're familiar with the PPP. We've heard some good things and bad things. And so it's really nice to hear directly from our banker to know, I mean, we all knew this has not been done before. So no thinking it was going to be solved in 2 days' time or anything quick like that was just, as business owners, we knew that wasn't going to happen. So forget what we hear, and knowing from the banker's mouth that the challenges have been worked through and so much has been achieved. So kudos to Comerica for sure. So I did go ahead and post Debbie's email in the chat box. So if you do have questions about PPE, reach out to her after the event, and she can probably direct those questions to people that can answer them, or she can address them herself. So we are ready to jump into our program. So what we're going to talk about today is creating the habit of priority. So Lisa Fisher of Lisa Fisher Associates is going to discuss how we can get rid of some of those distractions that we are probably experiencing, all new ones now that we're working from home. But even as we return to the workplace and to typical scheduling, some of these habits may help you to achieve your goals quicker and more efficiently and long lasting. So Lisa is a coach and a trainer and a speaker and consultant. And I'm just going to turn it over to you, Lisa.
All right, well, thank you all for being here and for inviting me to come and speak to you. Deb, you might have saw my head nodding, my smiles going with all the things that you are doing to support small businesses. I actually serve on the Leadership Council for the Small Business Association of Michigan. And just to know that the concerns in the heart is for a lot of those smaller businesses and being able to come over this. So thank you so much for sharing that information. And I shared the Michigan Women Forward Resilience Grant on my Facebook page. So lots of good stuff. Thank you. So as Connie shared, my name is Lisa Fisher, and I have Lisa Fisher Associates. I focus on personal and professional growth and development with individuals, with companies, with leadership teams, whoever's looking to aspire to grow. And when we first started talking about this program and this ability to present to you creating the habit of priority, it was before COVID. And I know some things have changed since then. And some of our work practices, some of our stay at home, oh my goodness, I was talking about how I heard my father and my grandfather always saying, I walk 2 ways uphill in the snow, knee deep to go to school. I have so many friends, my own children are having to work 40 hours at home, homeschool their children. I think we got them beat in that category right now. This is always something that we've never experienced. So I have about a half an hour to bring forth some information to you. And if you've ever attended any of my training events, they are pretty much workshop style format. So I would ask that you definitely have some paper and something to write with so that you can start beginning creating a plan. It doesn't have to be the end all be all. Yet start your way for creating some habits of priority. And as Connie said, put your questions in the chat room and we'll answer the questions as we go. So I want to start with this quote from F.M. Alexander. People don't decide their futures, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures. So we can create success habits, or we can create some bad habits, because there's often a tendency to do both. Our focus is today is to create some success habits that are going to propel your business forward. And again, taking a look at what this looks like. So today we're going to talk about identifying priorities, aligning key priorities, and schedule the allotted time to work on the priorities, right? We want to make sure that we are focusing on those most important activities that are going to drive the results that we're looking for. And we want to create that habit of automation. So the challenge of life, there's all you can know, all you can have, all you can do, right? We can't know everything because life is too complex. There's just way too much to know. We can't have everything because no matter the richest man in the world, can't have it all. And we can't do everything because our time does not allow it. We only have a certain amount of hours in a day, minutes in a day to work. Yet what happens is we have a tendency to treat everything like it matters equally. Specifically as women, we think that that mighty long to-do list, everything on it is so important, we need to get them all done. What I'd like you to do is on your sheet of paper, I'd like you to write down everything that you need to do for your work tomorrow. At the end of the day today, or maybe it's over the next couple of days, just start writing down real quick, popcorn style, what do you need to get done at work? We just another little bit more time. All right, so you probably have a long list of going right there, right? You probably got several things written down on there, but what I'd like you to do is I would like you to type in the chat, looking at that list, which one is the most important? Meaning, if you did not do that activity, you might not have a business. You might not have a role at your work. What does that look like? Type in the chat. What is that main activity? invoicing, showing up, leading to Zoom meetings, LinkedIn challenge video. So to know that you could go through and type in something that's going to be your most important activity that's going to yield you the greatest results, it's just an exercise to show you that not everything on that list matters equally. Rebecca, we got so many things, yet there's going to be one that moves that needle forward. It's going to take you closer. It doesn't mean it's the only thing that you do. It just means it's that most important one, again, that will take you to your results. I'm a licensed trainer for a top-ranked business book called The One Thing. And we ask this question we call the focusing question. What's the one thing in your business? It's that 20% activity that's going to give you the 80% results that you're looking for. Because we're looking at being able to prioritize. So I am an investor in a real estate company, and our realtors, number one priority for them to be able to sustain their business is lead generation. It's lead prospecting. It's talking to people. So that 20% activity of lead generation is going to give them 80% of the results that they're looking for. And quite frankly, that's the same activity that my doctors need that I coach. It's the same activity I need in my business. It's going out and building the business and working on it. That's going to give me the ability to convert, to close, and to get the results that I'm looking for. So if you were to think, we just did a whole list on what we needed to do tomorrow, tasks, if you will. Yet if you look at that sustainable growth for your business, what's going to give you the most results? Go ahead and type that in the chat, if you would, please. Leads, see that? Connecting with clients, absolutely. Communicating with customers, conversion copy. So so when we're identifying priorities, those are the things that we want to look at, the activities that are going to drive that 20%. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to grab maybe a separate sheet of paper, the one that you have, and I'd like you to fold it in half vertically. I can't see because we're going to take it and we're going to fold it in half vertically. And you're going to type personal on one side and professional on the other side. And we're going to do a brain dump, almost what you just did about identifying the things that you did yesterday. Yet we're going to look at what are the things that we need to do all across our whole business and start writing them down. And we're going to take about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. I know it's going rather quickly. So go ahead and write down on the professional side, those things, those goals. Maybe they're things that are going to lead you closer to your goals. They're the activities that you want to accomplish this year. Maybe the goals have changed a little bit, but what's going to drive your business and what's going to drive yourself personally? What are your priorities, or what are your activities that you want to do? Go ahead and write those on both sides, please. And if you have any questions on the exercise, type it in the chat. Maybe these are some of the things that you want to do that you haven't done yet. Maybe there's some things that you should do. And if any of you are like me, this COVID has really impacted my business. So when I look at my annual goals, they've pretty much been squashed, if you will. So what I'm thinking and looking at are more of what can I do over the next 90 days? It's going to lead me closer to where I want to be. All right. So put a 1 in the chat room if you've kind of got a good list going there. Just throw a 1 in there so I can get a pulse on what everyone's doing, how they're coming along, or if you like a little more time. So put a 1 if you're good. Got a good list going. Again, it might not be everything. Okay. Very good. So now what I would like you to do is I would like you to take a look at that list. And I would like you to pick, if you wrote more than 3 things, pick the 1 thing. If you have quite a laundry list on both sides, I want you to circle the top 3, the main priorities, that if you didn't do those things, you wouldn't feel successful, you wouldn't feel accomplished, you wouldn't be moving toward your goals. So circle the 3 out of all that list. It's going to give you the results you're looking for. While I recognize that everything is important, there are some things that are going to drive our business. There's some things on our personal side that we're going to do for our health that are going to drive our health that don't matter as equally as everything else. So when you have those 3 items that are circled, what I'd like you to do is prioritize those 3 items. Put them in ranking order. 1 next to the 1. Some of you had put in their lead generation, contacting customers, whatever that may be. Put a 2 next to the second most important, and then 3 on the least important. Remember, you're just taking this for a little test drive. This doesn't have to be the end all be all, but it's the exercise that's going to get you through to start thinking and processing. What does this look like to work in order of priority? We first have to identify what are the most important things and not treat everything like they matter equally. So when we're looking at creating goals and we're creating plans, one of the things that we want to do is we want to make sure that it's a measurable goal, right? So if you look at that list, those 3 things, what would be the metric? What would be the measurability piece? For an example, if I were to start on my personal side and I wanted to lose 10 pounds, that 10 is the metric, yet making it a little more specific, I want to lose 10 pounds by the end of July, let's say. So it's more specific and measurable. So if you're wanting to meet more clients, how are you going to know you're successful? If you want to follow up with customers, how many? What is that metric? And do you want to look at 90 days? Do you want to take it to the end of the year? Now, I know that things can change. We're living in a lot of uncertainty right now. So type a yes in the chat room. Can you agree that we don't know what the next 90 days is going to bring? The executive order might change things. Would you agree that that is something that could happen? Type a yes in the chat room. And do you agree that if we've got a target that we're moving towards, a plan that we're creating, that if there is a change in the direction, that we have the right to course correct and to revisit these goals that we're working on, or these plans that we're working on, these priorities that we're seeing. Type a yes in the chat room, please. The thing is, if we don't have a plan in place and we don't focus on the priorities, we're not going to head in that straight line in that direction to get there. Some of the folks that I have talked to in this time, they're kind of choosing that I'm going to wait and see what happens. And we can't wait and see. We have to take action. So we have to work smarter, faster, harder on the things that matter the most. So right now what we have is we have our 30-day goals, what we think we want to achieve in 30, 60, 90, maybe to the end of the year. You determine the time frame. We identified the top 3 activities, the top 3 action items that we want to do to achieve the goals. So as we look at the ranking order in here, we want to get in a relationship with our priorities, and sometimes they're a result. So if you have a certain earnings amount that you want to have for a goal at the end of the year, the earning amount is a result. So when you look at those 3 activities, are those 3 items that you circled on both lists, are they an activity or are they a result? Losing 10 pounds is a result. The activity is the eating healthy, the exercise, those plans. Meeting 20 new prospects while in quarantine is a result. The activity is reaching out to people, getting referrals, having warm introductions. What questions do you have around identifying if what you have written down is a result or an activity? And once you've identified if they're a result or an activity, just throw a 1 in the chat room. When I start seeing a couple of 1s in there, we can continue on. Why do you think it matters if it is an activity or a result? Type in the chat, why do you think it matters if we're working on an activity or if we're working on a result? The activity leads to the results. The timeline is different. Absolutely. Results will take many activities to get there. A result without an activity is a dream. I love it. I love it. And the result is the end goal. So good. So it is important that we are making these activity actions. So then once we have the activities identified, we want to apply a timeline because not everything is going to take the length of time. This morning, when I was talking to a group of people from Lansing Community College, one of the concerns was the personal protection plan, right? The PPE, getting it into place. So if that's one of your priorities, is to get that established in your business before opening the doors to whatever capacity you're able to open it up to, you don't want to wait 90 days to do that. You don't even want to wait 30 days to do that. That's going to be a timelined activity that you're going to want to have done by May 15th, May 18th, whatever that day is, in order to get those people in place. So when you look at those items that you've circled, and you start thinking about the timeline of the activities and breaking it down even a little bit further, by when? When do you want to complete these items? Because when we talk about working on one thing, it's one thing at a time. It's time on task over time. Yet there are things that we need to do sequentially. So in a given day, your whole day doesn't just go around the lead generation, the following up with customers. It's also going to include accounts payable. It's going to include some other activities that need to be done throughout the day. And again, some things may take you all year. to do, the routine, the activity over and over. And some things, say you want to implement a contact management system. Now, again, maybe that's a 30-day project, not a whole year. Select your CRM and get that going. So once you have these items all written down, and one of the things that we're going to come back to this slide about reflecting on it. So we've gone from identifying the most important activities that we can do in a given day. We've identified if they're an activity or a result. We want to focus on what that activity looks like. The action items that are going to spur you into motion to get you to that result. We're going to look at a timeline as to when certain activities are going to come due, and recognize that some activities may take you all year. So for example, with my prospecting for new clients, for lead generation, that's a daily activity. That's a success habit of building in and reaching out. Maybe it's calling 2 clients a day, maybe it's an hour a day. I'm going to do that constantly so that I'm filling my pipeline with new business. And following up with customers, that's also part of the routine, is following up with customers, because customer satisfaction is so important. But the slide that you have in front of you is one of reflection. So when you're going through each week, you should revisit, how did last week go? What were your priorities last week? How'd you do? Were you able to get your priorities done, or were some of these distractions coming in on the sidelines that were pulling you away? Other people's emergencies, were they pulling you off of what you needed to do that was going to help you grow your business? Because oftentimes, I've been in customer service all my life, so saying no to people is awkward. So a lot of times I'll say, just not yet. You know, I want to help you. I want to do that for you. I want to communicate this with you, whatever, just not yet. Can we do it Tuesday at 2? Because I'm working on my most important product, my most important priority of the day. Because just saying yes because you can't bear the short-term pain of saying no isn't going to get the work done. I have a friend who always tells a story, and he talks about that parent. You have a child that wants to go to an elite college, and you don't want to have to be that parent that tells that child, I'm sorry, I can't send you to that college because I didn't say no to my coworkers when I needed to, so I didn't make the money that I needed to send you there. It's a little extreme and a little bit harsh, yet how many times do we sacrifice our personal lives for our professional lives, or our time, even our professional lives for somebody else's professional life? Because we allow that distraction, we allow that to come into our worlds. And it doesn't mean saying no, it just is a matter of when do I time block that in. Because when you're not hitting your priorities, how does that make you feel? Because I know I feel frustrated, guilty, all these other emotions that well up inside of me. So what do I want to do differently this week to get to the results that I'm looking at, that I'm wanting to achieve? So once you identify your priorities, you want to make sure that you're staying on track and get somebody to help you be accountable to it. Find an accountability partner. Not somebody that's going to let you off the hook. You want someone that's going to say, you said you were going to talk to 10 people this week. You were going to get your accounts payable done today by 4 o'clock. Did it happen? So you want to reflect, because then it might reevaluate what your next week looks like. We want to take that to-do list that's long and takes us everywhere, and we get all that energy when we're knocking off all those small, easy things. We need to move that to-do list to a success list, and that's what you did. By circling the 3 priorities, that's your success list. That's your prioritized list from which you should work on every day. And until your priorities are done, everything else should come after that. So we take everything we could do and we focus on what we should do. Some people say what we must do. So creating that shorter list that gets us where we want to go. And it's moving your priorities into your time block. How many of you, type a 1 in the chat room right now if you do any kind of time blocking, any time blocking at all. Throw a 1 in the chat room, if you would, please. Okay. People out there that are doing some time blocking. So I had an amazing realization. The time blocking, number 1, is the easy part. Think about doing it all the time, right? Think about it. It's that accountability person that helps you put it into action. And it seems so overwhelming. So if I open up, this is beautiful time block. If you were to look at my calendar on my phone, you're gonna see color coded. You're gonna see this perfect week in there. I got a couple of blank spaces between 11 and 12, and 1 and 2, because we don't want to time block our full day because emergencies do happen. So one of your assignments for today is to define what you consist as an emergency that's going to take you away from working on your priorities. So the priorities are often blood and broken bones when it comes to some things. A fire, a flood. I mean, there are things that are going to constitute as an emergency, but hey, can you help me on this project? Do you have time to answer this question? That may not be an emergency. So define what constitutes an emergency. And like I say, when you open this up, it becomes overwhelming. And where do I start? Where do I begin? This is too much. Yet, what you're going to see in here is that the success list items are in there. And when you put them in your calendar, it would be very much specific so that you know exactly what it is that you're doing. So checking for email first thing in the morning and then jumping into your priorities. Then you've got some white space because an emergency did come up, so you can get back to it then. Or you can tell that person when you're working at 9 o'clock and they call you, ask you a question, hey, I got time at 11. Can I call you at 11? Take your lunch, ladies, refuel, get your energy up. Sometimes we have that. We talked about our success habits. Bad habits are not taking your breaks and lunch and refueling. So make sure that you're taking, even if it's 15 minutes away from your work. And schedule planning time so that you can set up for tomorrow, so that you can see if you're on track with your priorities, and if not, where do you pencil them in and double down a little bit. Right now in the stay home order, we're catching more people at home. So if you had a goal to call 20 people, but you get 10 of them on the phone that want to talk, you may have only got 10 calls in today, so tomorrow you need to double down. But put in your planning time so that you're focusing on what those priorities are. So when we take a look at starting time blocking, time management, it begins with the self-management. And there was a story that I heard the other day, and it made me think, because we started changing classrooms when I was in 4th and 5th grade in the areas that I went to, right? So we went from one classroom to the next. But when we got in junior high school, that's when we really started having 5 different sessions that you went to. The bell would ring, you would go to another class. So if I'm here in the morning and I'm thinking about, oh, my first period is algebra. I don't want to go to algebra. I want to go to gym. I couldn't just go to gym. I had to go to algebra. So that's like looking at this. I have to check emails at 8 o'clock in the morning. I can't jump into something else. It's something that we should move into right away and go to the class that we're supposed to, go to the priority that we're supposed to. And when the bell rings, move on to the next one. And you can create a bell system. My goodness, we have alarms on our phones, but that whole self-management means don't hit snooze. Don't ignore it. When that bell rings, that's what you want to be focused on. So creating a success list, implement it into your calendar, and it's an activity, not a result, you're going to start seeing that needle move forward into your business. I have a question in here. How often should you revisit your priorities? And that's a really good question. You should look at your success on your priorities when you're doing your planning for the next day. Yet, I encourage you at least once a week to sit down and say, is this still a priority or did this change? And when you're looking at your annual goals, or if you're doing this on a 90-day basis as we're feeling our way through this whole COVID-19, you know, it's taking a dive after 30 days and saying, you know what, that 90-day goal isn't going to happen. Or we get another order, executive order, look at your priorities and see if they're still in alignment with what we can do. And if not, you just want to do a little course correction to move in the direction that we can, that will keep us back on path. So then we think about aligning key priorities, competing priorities, however that you want to look at this, because oftentimes, again, we have more than one thing that we want to do, that we want to accomplish. Because again, we always think everything matters equally. I'm guilty. I teach this because that's the way I'm going to learn it. And I know I need this. But there are some ways that you can be creative in aligning priorities. And one of them, from a business perspective, may be making your business partner that you have to have meetings with your workout partner. So you're taking care of your physical health, and you are also taking care of business needs as you're walking or as you're on the treadmill talking a little bit of business. Right now, with social distancing, that's not possible yet. That's just an example prior to COVID that you could do. The other thing would be taking your kids. Right now, we're homeschooling our kids, and yet we still need to work. So how can we align those priorities? Is there a math? Is there something that you can teach depending on the age of the kids that you have going on? How to conduct a business meeting with the whole Zoom, teaching them technology and using a platform. Sometimes it's as much as standing in line and reading your emails at the grocery store. So you want to get creative at some of the things that you can do. We don't want to multitask, because we actually lose productivity when we're multitasking because we're not focused on the big picture. Yet finding ways to work with your competing priorities. And again, when we look at this calendar, when we have it detailed out in here, you can line them up to know what you're wanting to work on. So I have a challenge for each and every one of you. When we looked at this crazy calendar that seems to be overwhelming because it is too perfect, and I don't have the self-management to handle the time management, what I am going to challenge you to do is to take a look at that list that you've created. One of the activities, the lead activity for the result that you want to get. And I'm going to challenge you to what we call a 66-day challenge. So there was a study that was done at the University of London of a bunch of college kids, and they took them and they said diet and exercise. And the goal was to get it to the point of automaticity, where it wasn't that drudgery of, I gotta get up and go to the gym. And what they found when they were doing this study, that on average, the sweet spot for automaticity was 66 days. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is to take a look at that. And I would like to encourage you to implement a 66-day challenge focusing on that one activity, not everything that we have on that list, because that's a lot of things. Yet when we're focused on creating a success habit, and in the chat room, there is a PDF of that 66-day challenge. Posted it in there in a couple of places so that you can download that to your computer if you'd like. There's an app for that. You can track things on your app for habit tracking. There are all kinds of different things that you can do. Yet, when we are focusing on one good habit, and you're going to put a start date on there. So you might not need to start tomorrow because you might have to get equipment to do it. You might need to get your resources in line. So maybe you're going to start it on Monday, whatever that looks like. If it's a 5-day-a-week thing because you're doing it for work, it's Monday through Friday, go 66 instances, not 66 days. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to just take a minute and review your list and select which item you would like to implement for a 66-day challenge. It doesn't have to be big. If it is one of those things where you just want to check emails from 8 to 8:15 in the morning. Maybe you want to start getting up in the morning and getting into your routine. A lot of us have lost our routine in quarantine. So maybe it's one of those activities of setting the alarm 15 minutes earlier than what you're accustomed to right now so that you can get a little bit more time in. It doesn't have to be monumental. Some people say, I'm gonna go to the gym for an hour a day, or I'm gonna lead generate for 4 hours a day. You don't want to go to 4 to 360. You want incremental gain. All right, what I'd like you to do, you can see on that, I don't know if you guys can see it on my document, it's a little bit small, but up in the top corner, accountability is the breakfast of champions. So I'd like for you to type in the chat room, what habit are you going to try to create for the next 66 days or 66 instances? What are you going to work on? I have a friend, it's drinking more water. 64 ounces of water a day. 66 days, that can create that habit. Mine is calls, 2 calls a day. 2 calls to people, care calls, reaching out. How are you doing? Karen's gonna create an online course. Get up earlier to exercise. A good walk 3 times per week. Excellent, so if it's 3 times per week, it's gonna take you longer than the 66 days, yet you're going to keep track of it. Because the goal is to mark a red X on the calendar for each day that you do it. And you kind of create that chain and you don't want to break the chain. Beverly, practice mindfulness. I love it. Plan the night before for the next day's work. Oh my gosh, how wonderful is that going to be? How productive will that make you when you've got your plan in place? And just know, there may be something that throws in the monkey wrench, but if you erase, you must replace. Just do it again somewhere else in your calendar if that emergency comes up. I love it. So, from this time that we've had together, it was a lot of information in a little bit of time, virtually, right? So we don't get that whole hands-on communicating with each other, collaborating, masterminding a little bit more, but going through and looking at identifying your priorities, time blocking for those priorities, identifying what's a fire, creating a 66-day challenge. What were some of your ahas that you took away? Please type them in the chat room. Some nugget that you can take away that you can implement. The 66-day challenge is going to be great. Time blocking. Find an emergency that is worth a distraction. Get rid of distractions. Some of you may have heard me speak before, and I always have people pull out their cell phones because we talk about those distractions, those, hey, got a sec. And it never takes just a sec, never takes a minute. Let's say it takes 10 minutes. And I have people go through the math. You work 5 days a week at 10 minutes, that's 50 minutes. You take that 50 minutes, you work 50 weeks a year, that's 2,500 minutes. You divide that by 60 minutes that are in an hour, one 10-minute distraction that you say yes to is costing you 41 hours a year. And how many of you just have one 10-minute distraction? We have multiples if we allow it to happen. Yet we have to just say not yet. We need to have willpower, right? The will to say yes to our priorities and no to those others, the power to say no to everything else. So we want to focus on reducing those distractions, because if you have employees, what if you're their distraction? And then sometimes people take that to a whole nother level and they put their hourly rate to that. What are you worth an hour? Multiply it by that 41 hours a year. Those distractions are costing you valuable time you can't get back, and money that you can be utilizing in other places. Not to mention the time it takes to divert your brain back to your task. Absolutely, that whole switch cost. The average of working on something, stopping and turning away and coming back costs you 28% productivity. That's one full day a week. So a lot of reasons to identify your distractors, because that's part, almost like a 12-step program, right? That's the first step that you have to start, is identifying what is a distraction and then being able to start minimize them and reduce them. Fantastic. And I'm going to leave you with this, because I found this to be very fitting for the times that we're in. Put a 1 in the chat room if you've ever done whitewater rafting. Anybody ever gone whitewater rafting? I got a couple of 1s on there. My experience was I got to the side of the riverbank, and these folks are giving me some instructions that are really kind of scaring me, to be honest. I was really hesitant, much like a doctor. They give you that worst case scenario, right? You've got all these rapids and the water's running off of rocks. But it was an exciting thought. It was exhilarating, and it was scary. And right now, in the times that we're in, I wouldn't describe them as exciting and exhilarating, but yes, scary, right? It's a little bit different. But the lessons that they taught me on that instructions were ones that we can apply today. So the first one, I had to buy a ticket. I had to show up. Ladies, we need to show up every day. We need to show up ready and present to what it is that we're about to embark on. The second thing that they shared was find a trusted guide. Get somebody with experience. Right now, we're getting information overload, and some of it's not even true about all this COVID-19 and what's going on and everything. And it's, who's your trusted source that you're getting valuable information from? The next thing that they talked about was your tools, your paddles. You got water shoes on, you have your oar, you've got your helmet, your life jacket. So utilizing your tools and utilizing them properly. This could be your systems and models at work. It could be your PPE equipment. It could be the equipment that you physically have at your facility to work on, but utilizing your tools properly. And when that rapid came, you all leaned in. You worked together for a team, and you leaned in and you paddled and you used your tools and you got through that rapid. And you sat and you prepared for the next one to come. You didn't know when it was going to come, but you sat and you prepared for that. And then they said, if you fall out of the boat, don't panic. We as leaders can't be panicking right now. People are looking to us for guidance, for strength, for direction, for that calm. don't panic. This isn't a time to panic. And they said, if you miss your opportunity to get back in the boat you were in, find your second rescue opportunity. So what is your other opportunity? Your goals, your plans, what you might have written down as your priorities may change. They may shift. They may adjust. Yet what's a backup plan? Thinking out of that box, being the visionary, finding the next rescue boat. Because we are meant to be in the game. We are meant to be in the boat, fighting our way through each rapid that comes, not just standing as a spectator and watching everybody else work through this. So I hope that you have found something to take away. And Connie had put in there to add any additional questions. I'm not sure how much more time we have for questions and answers, but yet thinking of having that target and where you want to go and fighting through the different rapids is going to get you through this and onto the other side to build that sustainable business. Connie, I am going to stop screen sharing.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lisa. We really appreciate your information. Very valuable as always. So I don't see any questions coming up. If you want to raise your hand, I have two screens. So if there aren't any questions, we can kind of go into our happy hour. We do have quite a bit of people on the line, which is fabulous. I have two screens I need to transfer to see everybody if there's any questions. So if you have questions, go ahead and type it in. Janice has a question about forwarding Lisa's contact. Lisa, can you go ahead and enter that into the chat?
I sure will.
All right. So, hey, let's start our happy hour. I want to know what everybody's drinking. So I'm going to unmute everybody. If you feel like you're in a place where there's going to be a lot of conversation or distractions, go ahead and mute yourself.
Okay.
But let's kind of get a feel for, does everybody want to do a quick introduction or everybody's responding to, oh my gosh, that's my noise. I got to shut myself down.
Now see what you did. All right. Why couldn't stand seeing his favorite uncle insulted?
All right. Well, let's go ahead and just introduce ourselves. I'm going to call on everybody as I see them on the screen right now. Is that good for everybody?
You see?
All right. Terry Jo, I'm going to start with you. So go ahead and introduce yourself and your business. And actually,
I actually am with AstraZeneca Pharmaceuticals. I used to be a business owner, but not anymore. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Terry.
Oh, I said I'm with AstraZeneca, go by TJ, and I used to be a business owner, but I'm not anymore. So.
Okay. Well, I hope the information was still applicable for you.
Yeah, it was very applicable.
Business owner.
Really appreciated it.
Yeah. So I did want to ask a question of everybody too. First of all, you can share if you're having a cocktail with us or not. You can tell us what you're drinking. And the question for you that we've asked at a couple of the other webinars that I posted and participated in recently is any changes that you're going to implement after this experience. So I'm going to give an example first. Connie Sweet Connection Group, we provide branding solutions for businesses. And one thing I learned is when this all went down, I'm in my office right now, and I can be in my office because I've sent all my staff home to work at home. But I cleaned this place thoroughly. And I've never had it so clean, I don't think, since kids were here. So it's thoroughly clean because we used to, yeah, anyway. So I have decided I am going to hire a cleaning service from now on. It's going to happen. I'm taking that off my plate. I can find them for less expense hourly than I pay myself. So that's next in line. So Bev, I'm going to call on you next because I seen that cute dog.
Yeah, he was kind of distracting me a little bit there, Connie.
Yeah, they have to be on the line. So
your question was, we're supposed to ask, because he was distracted.
The question is there something that you know you're going to implement after this has happened? So since this has happened, has something occurred to you that you really need to change? Personally or professionally?
I think professionally, we've always been pretty flexible about if you can work at home. And, but I think we're going to even be more flexible, you know, but I do think that I definitely want people to come in too, because that's a really, I think it's not good for everybody if we don't get together more and talk and things like that. I just think that it's hard for the business. But I think on a daily basis, it's like too much because you get a lot more done when not everybody's around for distractions. So
Absolutely.
I think a mix of those is probably good. After this is over, maybe I'll give away free haircuts because I need those. Everybody needs one, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
do you want
I
to
don't
go
know.
ahead and
Personally, I don't know. I think for me, because, you know, it's just hard, I think, to not have a partner. You know, it's just really, I'm really all by myself, and, you know, somebody's in a room, but I feel very much alone. And I think that I'm going to work on that a little bit. You know, I have friends, certainly, but a lot of them are, you know, even to distance network to go over and sit, you know, 6 feet apart on a chair in their yard. They're compromised, you know, immune wise. So it's really, you know, a lot of them just don't want to do that. You know, so I think I'm going to